nationality here and birthright. Now, in your book, I think you were misquoted. Can you clear that up?
Which part of my book? I mean, which statement?
I don't know. I'm hearing at third hand that you're for illegal immigration because they got good work ethics and all
Okay,
that.
I think where they might be confusing is I'm very honest and upfront about what you can do with 20 million illegal immigrants. And I say that there's no way you could have every single army person in the world come back here and you can't round them up. But I would not give them citizenship. I deny, I would have no federal mandates for free education or free medical care. And if you do isolate them and then there's somebody that breaks the law, you ship them back. But to design a program where you literally can round up 15 or 20 million people, I just don't think there's a practical answer to that. But we should have more people on the border. We should have more border patrols. I've said many times that why is it that we are obsessed with losing lives and billions of dollars wondering about where the border is between Afghanistan and Pakistan and not our own borders, and I think we should protect our borders. So I think it's that one comment about not being militant enough to say that I will round up every single person, but you would turn this into a militaristic state that I don't think would be helpful.
Government is inherently coercive, so I wonder, is there anything that the government can do that the free market can't? Why do we need government?
Well, I think, you're sort of asking the question between minimalists and anarchy. Of course, there are some who make the case that in total anarchy, it's not total chaos either. The total chaos comes from too much government. But no, I would be in the camp of a constitutionalist, which is sort of in the minimalist camp. I think the Constitution could have been written better, given us better protection. There's a lot, but that's over and done with. But I feel fortunate that most everything I want to defend, I can defend, by the Constitution. So I think there's room for courts, and if you catch somebody breaking into your house, you're mainly safe in your house, not because there's a policeman outside protecting you. You're safe because somebody might think that you still believe in the Second Amendment. If somebody comes in and they're threatening your family, you knock them over the head and you knock them out. I still think we have to have some place to deal with them, And there are some theoreticians who wrote how that can be handled. But that might be, I think the advancement of liberty has been very, very good in the last 200 or 300 years. I'm afraid we're having a setback currently. But yes, maybe in 500 years or so, if we make great progress, maybe somebody will think that we can even do with less. Our big job is just stopping it and turning the tide and turning it back to a lot more liberty and making it, and just make the government live within its means. The Constitution is there not to restrain you in any way, it's to restrain the government. And that should be our job right now.
Would you have released the photos of Osama bin Laden?
Yes, I certainly would have. He asked about releasing the photos of bin Laden. We saw photos of Saddam Hussein, and and we knew what happened to him. So no, I think we should have. So I don't know what harm that would do. But I think the photos of the ghastly photos of American military people torturing people, they ought to be released too, to know exactly how out of control this country is.
What do you think about the president's statement that we're not actively engaged in hostilities in Libya, and what do you think the future implications of technology would be in terms of the ability to do undeclared wars like that?
Well, you said that with a smile on your face, and I think it's a joke, so I guess it makes everybody smile. Does he really believe that? He said that we're not at war because they're incapable of shooting back at us. Therefore, we have no hostilities and we have no casualties. So as long as you can bomb people and kill people and take over their land, if we don't have any casualties, there's no war, and therefore we don't have to ask permission from the Congress. That is so out of control, and everybody knows, you know, I was on that lawsuit to file against the president for...
Many Americans are coming to really understand and appreciate your message. I think that something's really wonderful happening. What do you think of the rest of the Republican Party? Are they beginning to appreciate and understand your message?
Well, I think that, yes, they are. I think slowly, but and I mentioned that in the talk, I think the shift is coming. But it is also true that if you took a national poll for the views that I've been talking about, the national polls would grab in, and this should be a good political statement, that it will pull in a lot of disgruntled Democrats, it would pull in a huge amount, if not all, of the independents, and it will, you know, peel off a lot of Republicans because they've been told that the Republican Party is for limited government. They need a little urging because even the foreign policy is not totally strange to the Republican Party. I mean, we quote Eisenhower, we quote Robert Taft and others, and it has been a tradition. There's been, you know, several very good members of Congress that maintained this position that were Republicans. So, okay, where we go over here.
If we back out of the Middle East militarily, do you think that they'll be aggressive toward the United States?
It would do what?
Do you think that people from the Middle East will be aggressive toward the United States still?
Would still be aggressive toward us?
Yeah, if we back out.
If we back out of the Middle East, would there be less aggressive attitudes toward the United States over a period of time? But, you know, I don't think it took a lot of years to undermine our goodwill over there. And we did have a lot of goodwill, you know, during World War II and other times. I mean, we weren't seen as the occupiers, but, you know, the past 20 years or so, we have undermined a lot of that. And when you think about those pictures of torture and bombing and putting, you know, embargoes against medical products and bombing infrastructure in Iraq, a lot of people dying for this. That's going to take a long time. But yes, it's going to improve because if we don't, it's going to keep getting worse. Because right now, you know, we were told Libya is actually a good issue for us to bring up to win people over. One, it's the Democrats that are doing it, so we can get all the Republicans to be more willing. But it's been so outrageous because he just flaunted it. He just says, I don't need to. I get my orders from the NATO and from the United Nations. But we were told that he wanted to go in there because Gaddafi was getting ready to kill a lot of civilians. We never killed anybody, never proved a word about that. And now we've been bombing him, and guess what? We've killed more civilians than Gaddafi did. I mean, the whole thing is just you know, I don't understand how anybody can support that, but I think the sentiment is changing. But I think coming home is the best thing long term because as long as we're there, we're going to just antagonize. And I mentioned the other night in one of my talks at the debate, and I said, we should look at this. You know, when we're doing these things, we should look at it sort of like a foreign policy golden rule. What if others would do exactly what we're doing to them? What if China did to us what we do to other countries? We would all be together. There would be no dissent. All Americans say, this is where we stand up for our national sovereignty and for our liberties.
As that young fellow over in the city is also being called my finger.
He asked about whether which son is that? Is that son Rand? Oh yeah, that's Rand Paul from Kentucky. Whether or not he'd be a running mate. I haven't discussed that with him. But I'm sure he would be, I know he's a very good senator, and I also know he's not going to go away very soon.
Ron, would you talk about the United States' relation to the United Nations and what you would do about the United Nations?
what would I do about the United Nations? Sometimes the questions are easy to answer, and I don't have to run off like I'm doing right now. What do I do with the United Nations? I would say I wouldn't do a heck of a lot to the United Nations other than get us out of the United States.
One of the biggest things the federal government controls around here is the Missouri River. Is there a solution to this?
Yeah, no, I hate to say this. I said that they also control the levees in Louisiana, too. They're better here. No, it was never meant to be that way. I mean, there's, a river runs between states, and if states didn't work out problems on occasion, the federal government could be involved in disputes. But states should maintain this responsibility. And right now, if you look at all the things that the federal government has done with rivers and levees and ports and jetties, they're starting to see, it takes a lot of years. We have a jetties problem right where I live, 15 miles from my house. And it distorted the flow of water and destroyed, it took a long time, but it destroyed some beaches and built the sand. So there's a lot of downside to it. So when they do it, they're well intended, they're going to save you from all the problems of nature, and sometimes it backfires and it makes it a lot worse. So I would place a lot more confidence in property owners and states, people locally, and trying to work out their problems that way. Okay, I have time for 2 more questions. Here we go. Over here.
What I'm concerned about is, I'm afraid there's not going to be an election. I'm concerned about House Resolution 668, the Grid Act, and then they need to get that passed by the 24th of this month. And that has to do with electromagnetic pulse, which can come from the sun or it can come North Korea's pulse. China has the capability. High altitude, half over Kansas. Wake up in the morning, cars ain't going to start.
Okay, I don't have a full answer for that because I don't understand all the science. The electromagnetic pulse, if it comes in a certain area, they could, one single bomb, in theory, can wipe out every electrical, power plant in the United States. I don't know enough about that. But do you know exactly what the bill does?
Well, it was supposed to provide funding so they can prepare the electric grid for any from
Yeah. Well, I would look at that, if I could, I would look at it in the sense that if that's related to national defense and it was a threat from somebody lobbing a bomb over him doing that, I think, researching that and knowing something about it would be important. Okay.
What is your idea of having a billing of private czars?
A what?
Of private czars for your advisors.
Private guards.
Yeah. Czars. Russian czars.
The czars.
Yeah.
I always thought a czar was a bad word.
Yeah.
Okay, one more.
Yes, Ron. You've got a bill now, H.R. 958, We the People Act, and no co-sponsors. What's the plan for that bill?
Okay, we the People Act is, and it may be my fault from not having, twisted some arms, but most of the time I get my support when the people ask their member of Congress to support it, and that's why Audit the Fed was so successful. We had, all the Republicans plus more. So we need more work on it. We the People Act is, to me, a very important piece of legislation designed by understanding the Constitution. And that is when the federal government gets involved on court cases, and then they rule a certain way. And one case that motivated me, like prayer in school and arguments about marriage, and also the abortion issue, right, is that a state might pass something that they want, and then the federal government comes in and they re-legislate through the Supreme Court. So you can take away the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court from certain items, and those particular items mostly in the social areas. That is the magnificence of the country. The states could be different. Maybe they're not going to be all perfect. Maybe some will make mistakes, but it doesn't impose the problems on the other state. When Congress or the Supreme Court does it, everybody suffers. So this would be in my way of repealing Roe versus Wade and getting it out of the hands of the federal court. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Paul. We're going to have a little bit of time to shake hands because of the schedule. We won't have time for a lot of autographs, but if you're interested in a handshake, please form the line up here and file out this door.